Good morning and welcome to episode 17 of Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. Who needs coffee when you have Morning Buzz with Energy Guy? Morning Buzz with Energy Guy, the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. Good morning. Fall is in the air. It just keeps getting more beautiful. And with that, the weather is nice. So the attic and the crawl space is bearable. So it's time to do a home energy project that you've been putting off for a while. It's never fun to get up in the attic in the middle of the summer, is it? It's the hottest place in your house. In the middle of the winter, it's the coldest place in your house. So this time of year, it makes it really nice to go up and add insulation, seal the ductwork, make sure it's good and nice and sealed with mastic. And maybe you need to do some plumbing underneath your house and you've got a crawl space. It's a comfortable time of year to do it. However, got to watch out for those little critters because they're out in force right now. But yeah, something about fall makes me want to do projects like energy efficiency projects, or build a gate, or lay some flooring. You name it. I don't know what it is, but about the time I start looking for eggnog at the shelf on the grocery store, I coincide that with, hey, it's time to do a home improvement project. And I just reward myself with a little eggnog. No, I mentioned eggnog because it is one of my favorites. And I saw some at the store the other day, so it is out. I've been drinking this kefir, the fermented milk, to help my stomach because I've got some issues, and it's been awesome. So I'm going to give it a plug. It's Lifeway kefir, fermented milk. I know it sounds terrible, fermented milk, but it is a bit tart. It's like drinkable yogurt. It's very, very high in probiotics, so it's good for you. It's a source of protein, and there's a number of different flavors. And I was suggesting to my wife the other day, they need eggnog because it's about the same consistency and thickness and texture and all that. But there's all kinds of flavors: cherry, blueberry, vanilla, strawberry banana, just so many different flavors. And sure enough, I looked it up, and eggnog is a seasonal flavor for Lifeway kefir. But kefir's really helped my stomach. I'm giving them a plug because it's the last thing I do in the evening before I go to bed. So, probably about, I was having acid reflux pretty bad. It was waking me up. And for years I was taking different, some over-the-counter stuff, some prescribed stuff. And I understood those aren't good for you long-term. So that's what a doctor told me anyway. And I was reading about kefir one day, and my wife had a friend that had made her own kefir at home. And so we tried that for a while. It was good. But then we came across this stuff that was bottled, by a dairy, this Lifeway dairy or whatever they are. And man, they're good, and they're not too expensive. You don't have to drink a lot of it. I drink about 6 to 8 ounces about an hour before I go to bed. And another thing I've done is I've changed my eating habits a little bit. I try to stay away from spicy foods, acidic foods, particularly don't do any of that after 7 o'clock. As I get older, I notice that number gets earlier and earlier. I started out saying I can't eat anything after 8 o'clock, but now it's about 7 o'clock. I cannot drink coffee at night. Not that it keeps me awake. I can sleep like a baby with regular caffeinated coffee. It's just that it's so acidic that I'll end up, in my throat again later on about 3 a.m. and I don't want that. That's horrible if you haven't dealt with it. But cereal's terrible too. Cereal and milk, to eat that late. Now sometimes I used to have a sweet. I still do. I'll admit it. I have a sweet tooth, and we'll eat supper, about 6. And then about 8, I'm like, man, I sure like to have something sweet. And the only thing we have in the house maybe sometimes is I just want a small bowl of cereal. And boy, I paid dearly for that. So that's something I really try to avoid. But if you've got stomach issues, try this kefir, Lifeway. You can find it at all the grocery stores locally. And now they've got eggnog. I need to find that. I saw it online, but I'm hoping some of these stores may have that. But I kind of got off track there. We were talking about this being a good time of year so to do things. So I've been pushing tax credits for energy efficiency for a long time. And I haven't been harping on them because through the I think it was called the let me see. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Under that, during the Biden administration, the federal government made tax credits available through 2032 for the most part, for almost, a gamut of things. There's so many different things. Exterior doors, exterior windows, skylights, insulation, air sealing, high-efficiency furnaces, boilers, central AC units, heat pumps, geothermal heat pumps, small solar, small wind, and the list just went on and on. And I haven't been pushing it as much because they extended the program, the program's offerings through 2032. Well, let's fast forward to July 2025 when the big, beautiful bill was signed, and it basically axed the majority of those programs. And for most of them, say 90% of them, they will expire as of the end of this year, December 31st, 2025. So this is your warning that if you've had any of this stuff on your radar or in your sights to get done, do them now, because you want to get that money back. And I call it free money because it's money that you would have ordinarily paid taxes in, and now you can get it back. And we're talking about dollar-to-dollar credits. If you pay $10 in, I'm just going to use this, and we know it's a whole lot more than that, but just for simple math, if you pay $10 in through withholding at the end of the year when you do your taxes that are due April 15th every year, and you qualify for $5 in tax credits, you only pay $5. You get of that 10 that you paid in, you get $5 back. That's how it works. It's not like a deduction. It's a credit. There's a difference. So look into it. One that may be a little difficult, but I was planning on talking about it today because I still think even without the tax credits, it is the math works eventually. Not as quickly as it did with me, because it was a perfect storm when I in a positive way, when 8 years ago, my wife and I decided to put geothermal heating and air conditioning in our 75-year-old farmhouse. Of course, now I said 75, it's probably 80 now. But about 8 years ago, we crunched the numbers, and at the time, there was a federal tax credit of 30%, which is still in effect today through December 31st. I don't know if you can get one designed and done by then. It may be, and you could ask your tax accountant, if you start the job before December 31st, or you could prepay before December 31st, you might still qualify. But at the time when I did mine, there was a 30% federal, there was a 30% state, so that's 6 out of 10, 60%, or $6 out of $10 back to me. And Farmers Electric had a $1,000 per ton rebate, and it's a cashback rebate on geothermal heating and air conditioning, or heat pumps. Ground source is another word, because you're using the ground as your source to exchange heat. And I tell you what, it's been unbelievable. You hear about emergency heat or on the electric side, or strip heat. So we have strip heat. We don't have a lot because we were told by our installer that we wouldn't need it. And danged if he wasn't right. We have not had our emergency heat or strip heat come on in 8 years since the time of installation. And a ground source heat pump uses half of what a typical conventional air source heat pump uses. So when a air source heat pump will use 5,000 watts, 5 kW, that's another way it helps with math when you can take some zeros off. A geothermal heat pump uses 2,500 watts or 2.5 kW, and with no heat strips. You normally need heat strips for an air source heat pump because it will not operate well under, say, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll work, but it just won't keep you comfortable. And so your emergency heat or backup heat normally turns on. And for most homes, that's 15,000 or 20,000 watts. So 15 kilowatts or 20 kilowatts. That's a lot. And that adds up quickly on your electric bill. So the longer you can keep your heat pump operating, the better. And for the most part, air source heat pumps will heat your home approximately 75% of the time during the winter heating months. Okay. Again, my emergency heat has never come on, even with sub-zero temperatures. We don't get them often, but we definitely get there with wind chill. But we'll get into the teens often. We'll get into the single digits. We'll get into low single digits. Say the first week in February. That's like the coldest week historically in our area. It may get down to 5 degrees, and our backup heat never comes on. Now, does a geo heating our home to 70 degrees? Oh, no. I think the best I can do with single digits is about 64 degrees in the house. But that's at 2.5 kW. So, I mean, it's been the godsend for me. I can't, and there's so many advantages. There are some cons, and we're going to go over those in a bit, but there are a lot of advantages to geo. Just a reminder, tax credits, federal tax credits, will run out as of December 31st, 2025, for the most part. The geothermal, again, right now is 30% of total job with no ceiling. I think there's a yearly ceiling, but you can carry that out until it's exhausted. So that's we had to do that. But get those projects done. Talk to your tax advisor, your accountant, whoever does your taxes. Look it up. Spend some screen time on your computer or on your phone. And don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself, because I don't want to be blamed though later and say, "Hey, you didn't tell us enough. You didn't tell us that we should get on this horse and get after it." I'm telling you right now, get on that horse and get after it. Because if you don't, if you snooze, you lose. Even like adding insulation. I mean, if you can get back $1,200, I think that's the cap for attic insulation. Now's a great time to do it. And you'll get it back in April when you file your taxes. Dollar for dollar tax credit. Now, Farmers Electric still has the $1,000 per ton of installed geothermal cash back rebate up to, and it has a $5,000 cap. So we're gonna keep that going for a while. We really want to encourage people. This helps us out. It actually reduces our peak, and we get billed on our peak from our wholesale power provider. So the math works for us, because we'll come out ahead in the long run. Even though this incentive is $1,000 per ton, we still come out ahead because we're going to save on our overall wholesale power bill. So, and we want to pass those. We want those reductions because we want to keep our members' rates down, okay, or increasing within reason. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about geothermal. So geothermal heat pumps offer pros like superior energy efficiency, lower operating cost, and a long lifespan, but have cons such as high upfront installation costs. That is a fact. You're looking at probably from turnkey from start to finish with equipment and drilling and installation of a normal size, 20 1,700 to 2,200 square foot home here in eastern New Mexico, you're probably looking at $35,000 to $45,000 installation cost. Another con, dependency for installation and need for supplemental heating in some cases, which I would suggest you have it in place because the geo could, the pump could break down. So you'd need something to back that up. So I've got a little something to back it up, but it's not much. I think I've got 5 kW, 5,000 watt heat strips built into it. The systems are environmentally friendly and quiet with no visible outdoor unit. All of our equipment's in our basement and can be a good long-term investment due to significant savings on energy bills and right now, federal tax credits and rebates from Farmers Electric. And if you're listening in another part of the country, perhaps your utility or your cooperative have some incentives in the form of cashback rebates. FEC again offers $1,000 per ton up to $5,000 cap on new geosystem installs. So let's go over this list of pros. High energy efficiency. Geothermal systems can be 300 to 500% efficient, using 1 unit of electricity to deliver 3 to 5 units of heating or cooling. And it uses the same amount whether it's heating or cooling. And what's cool about geothermal is about 6 feet down, the ground is a constant temperature. I think it's about 68 degrees. So that's the advantage. Lower operating costs, reduced energy consumption leads to significant savings on heating and cooling bills, often by 30 to 70%. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing about 50%. Long lifespan. The underground loop system can last over 50 years. So the piping, I think it's called earth PVC or something like that we installed had a 100 year life expectancy. Now that's as long as you don't dig into it. If you've got it underground and you forget and you say, hey, I want to put a pool over there in that big open space, and you start excavating and dig into it, that's on you. But if you don't mess with it, it's going to last 50 to 100 years. And the indoor unit typically lasts 20 to 25 years with very minimal maintenance required. And that's what we've seen. I mean, we have seen there is a con that I've noticed that's not listed here is the air filter is expensive. They run about $35 a piece. Now, you don't change them very often. I think I'm changing mine about every 3 months. And my thermostat tells me when I need to change it, so I don't have to, I don't have to write it on a calendar or try to remember or anything like that. But they're big. I mean, they're 2 inches by deep by 36 by 36, something like that. And you can't just run down to the hardware store and buy them. You typically have to buy them in bulk. So, you do have to bite the bullet and buy them at about 5 at a time at $30 to $35 a piece, but that'll last you over a year or more. So I would call that a con, that you just can't run down to the hardware store and buy an air filter. Environmentally friendly. The systems don't burn fuel. They don't produce any carbon monoxide, and they use renewable resources, reducing carbon emissions. Quiet and unobstructive. The system is quiet, with no large, noisy outdoor units to distract from your home's appearance. Stable and reliable. Performance is unaffected by extreme outdoor weather, which I mentioned earlier, and ground temperatures provide a consistent energy source year-round. And that's what we talk about when we say, I mentioned that it uses renewable resource, and that's the temperature in the ground. It doesn't have to be heated or cooled. It's constant. The federal tax credits. Currently, there's a 30% federal tax credit through the IRS. This is a dollar-for-dollar credit that can be netted against the upfront cost. And it'll have you couple that with Farmers Electric's cashback rebate and, The return of your investment now is probably closer to 10 or 11 years. But again, we're talking about a system that lasts, half of it lasts 50 to 100 years. The other half, the equipment, lasts 20 to 25 years. And I've heard of them lasting even longer with your typical maintenance. As long as you stay on top of that. I mentioned the air filters. That's a big deal. We're at 20 minutes and 38 seconds. I'm going to pick it up a little bit. Now, there are some cons in addition to the air filter that I talked about. High initial cost, upfront cost for the purchase of installation is significantly higher than traditional HVAC systems or air source heat pumps or straight air conditioning. And we're talking air source heat pump, probably $12,000. This is ballpark. And with a geothermal or ground source heat pump being in the $35,000 to $40,000 area. Insulation complexity. Installation requires a lot of space for ground loops and can involve extensive temporary excavation. Site limitations. While they can be installed almost anywhere, some locations are better suited than others due to specific ground conditions. Supplemental heat needed, like a standard heat pump. A backup heat source like electric heating elements or a furnace is often required. We've got it, but we've never used it. Here's one. This is a biggie. Requires skilled installers. Installation requires specialized knowledge and qualified technicians. Drillers and loop installers are hard to find in eastern New Mexico. However, there are drillers in West Texas. Several local HVAC system equipment installers are qualified for geothermal equipment installs in this area. And I'll tell you who installed mine. That's JC Heating and Air Conditioning, JQ Heating and Air Conditioning, Jason Queener. He's moved out of the area. I think he moved over to West Texas, but he still has his shop in Texaco. And they did me an awesome job. There's a couple Jasons. There's Jason the owner, then there's Jason the electrician. And Jason the electrician is just unbelievably knowledgeable, and he did just an extremely good job on our installation. And again, no major issues. We're 8 years in, and I don't even think about it. They just did an awesome job. Them coupled with Wilson Drilling. So JQ Heating and Air Conditioning Electrical, they're still out there. Give them a call and tell Jason Queener that you heard about him on Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. All right, 23 after the hour. Whew, that was a lot. I do want to talk a little bit about this day in history. So this day in history, October 11th, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt was born. First lady and diplomat and activist who championed human rights, women's rights, and the United Nations. She was married to Franklin Roosevelt, and who was famous for, his time as president during World War II. But she was born on this day, October 11th, 1884, and she passed in 1962. Meriwether Lewis dies along the Natchez Trace in Tennessee. On October 11th, 1809, the famous explorer Meriwether Lewis of Lewis and Clark fame dies under mysterious circumstances in the early hours of the morning after stopping for a night at Grinder's Tavern along Natchez Trace in Tennessee. If you want to know more about that and about the circumstances surrounding his death, you'll have to look it up, because that's all I grabbed. September 11th, Apollo 17 launched, and I didn't write it down, but I believe it was 1968, Apollo 7. The first manned Apollo mission is launched with astronauts Walter M. Schirra Jr., Don F. Easel, and Walter Cunningham aboard. Under the command of Schirra, the crew of Apollo 7 conducted an 11-day orbit of Earth, during which the crew transmitted the first live television broadcast from orbit. And of course, in 1969, an Apollo crew, I can't remember which number it was, finally did land on the moon and walked on the moon and returned safely home. On October 11, 1975, Saturday Night Live debuted. Saturday Night Live, or as it's commonly called, SNL, a topical comedy sketch show featuring Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, Garrett Morris, Jane Curtin, and Lorraine Newman, makes its debut on NBC. The 90-minute program, which from its inception has been broadcast live from Studio 8H at Rockefeller Center, includes a different guest host and musical act each week. The opening sketch of each show ends with the actors saying, "Live from New York, it's Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy." Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got carried away. Live from New York, it's Saturday night. Kind of a cool program. It gets political, but you know what? They're pretty equal. They pick on both sides fairly equally. So we're 26 minutes into the hour. Hope you enjoyed this day in history, October 11th. Hey, send us a question. Send me a question to the Energy Guy at Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy Facebook page. Messenger is the best way to send questions. I've had about 3 questions and we've been able to answer on air in depth. But hey, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Just get on Messenger, look up Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy, and send it. We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube at FECNM. We've got our YouTube channel, FECNM. There's all of the shows. You can find them there, all 17 of them. And you can also find, if you're a Farmers Electric member, you can find information about our new billing system and our new bills and what they look like, going paperless, how to sign up for Smart Hub and all that good stuff. We're also, Morning Buzz with Energy Guys, also on Spotify podcast. Like us and follow us. Also find us on Apple Podcast. And again, we'd love to hear from you. Hope you're having a great Saturday and look forward to our next show. Next week will be episode 18. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but know that I'll be here. Again, who needs coffee when you've got Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy? We'll see you same time next week.